Welcome to another podcast of Adeel Pirzada podcast. Today is Friday, which means our podcast day, and as usual, we got a very special, exciting podcast for today. But before we dig into that, I want to introduce my co-host, Mr. Kevin Padillo.
Thank you for having me. I thought you were about to say very special guest, and I was going to be like, yeah, it's me. But yeah, welcome everyone to today's podcast. I'm glad to be here. My name's Kevin. If you haven't met me yet, I am the very blessed co-host to be here with Adeel and support you all and support Adeel for his podcast. So I'm glad to be here today.
Thank you, Kevin. And you know what? Maybe one day we will interview you. I'm sure people want to know, our viewers that see you on the camera all the time in marketing, and you're doing such an amazing job. They want to know maybe more about you, who you are, what you do, how did you end up here. So maybe we should do a podcast on that.
For sure.
And then we should bring Chris as well and his story and his experience with construction. Yeah, okay, back to our podcast. So this is a series. This is a 5-episode series that we've been conducting. And it was about building a duplex, a semi-detached home, which is quite hype right now in the market. And it's very rightfully so. It's needed in a way. And it's the beginning of something for a lot of people who are getting involved in development and building and all that stuff. So today we're on the episode 3 of that podcast. So, of that 5 episode. And the first 2, we covered. One was finding the right lot. The second was finding the right architect or designer team. And today what we're going to talk about is applying for the permits. So that would be the next thing kind of on the line to do, is applying for the city permits. So actually it's pretty simple. I would get into that detail, that what we do, how we do it. But before I start on that, I want to ask Kevin if he has any questions, or is there anything that you had in mind?
Yeah, I know you're about to jump into it. City permits. What are the steps to apply for a city permit?
So for something like this, right? You need a permit pretty much anytime you do construction, anytime you build something, you make changes to the existing floor plans by putting more walls. Let's just start there. Like, you're putting walls, you need a permit. You need an approval from the city. So like if you're building your basement, you need a building permit. If you're making changes to your deck, and maybe let's say making changes to your windows on your house, you need a development permit and a building permit, because it changes the appearance of the house. So every time it affects your appearance of the exterior of the house, a DP is involved. And every time you actually have the construction, whether the exterior or the interior, you need a building permit. So same following this kind of criteria, we would also need a development permit and a building permit for this. I'll start with development permit because that's the first one you need. And basically what you need is you need to file an application to the city. And it doesn't have it's your architect or your designer team will send an application to the city for the development of the property. And in this application, they should have a set of drawings that they're going to share with the city to show them what the building is going to look like. And, a basic floor plan, okay, like how big it is and what the rooms are, kind of the layout. But the city is more interested at this time, how high is your building? How wide is your building? What kind of materials is being used? What is the look? Where are the windows? Where are the trees? So it has to do a lot of it. The exterior matters. And this is the time when your designer would have the drawings by now, right? Your development permit drawings, and that's the first set they would be working on. So once they have that, then they can go apply at the city, and you would pay for the development permit fee. Now, this is actually for something like that, for ground up construction. This is actually the very critical application. Not so much a building permit, even though it's more extensive, but development permit. If you don't pass this, if you fail this one, there is no building. So you won't have a building permit. But so this is very important because you need to pass through this in order to go to the next step, the next phase. So this phase is all about showing the city and getting approval from the city that you're building within the city's guidelines or the bylaws, right? And then it's about the exterior, mostly how the building is going to look, how high is going to be, the highest peak. What are the setbacks from the property line? What are the setbacks from your neighbors? Where are the trees? If there is any existing tree will need to be removed. What are the new trees? What is the new landscape? So all those things are discussed in this permit. So that's the gist of it, the summary. Now, development permit also takes longer than the building permit, which you would do after. So development permit, because the city has to actually now go through with every single department that they have. So they have to go through, if there is an environmental department, there is the tree and and urban forestry, they have to figure those things out. Their drainage and the road surface and checking the underground utilities. So they have to look at it. The utility providers would look at it. Obviously, the other departments within the city, the bylaws and the development permit authority. And so, they would get to look at it. And also, at this time, your property will be advertised. And it will be, so your neighbors will become aware that this development is taking place. And if any neighbor has any issues or anything they don't like about your development, this would be the time they'll bringing it up to the table and saying what I don't like, and you may get an appeal in that case. Yeah,
as I jump in, what are ways they advertise that development, Adeel?
So they advertise on the website, on the city's website, and also the newspaper. I know back in the days when I first started doing duplexes, it was just used to be the newspaper. But yeah, now there's online. I believe they're still advertised on the newspaper, which might be still online, but I think the physical copies, it's
Calgary Sun, Herald.
Yeah, there. And then also they would put a board on the property as well, right? That this is that this has been submitted for development application. Also, there is city's website that are just for this matter, and it will be advertised there. And also there are some other places, the journal places for the city where it gets advertised.
That's why you'll see those big signs, billboards, or even a trifold.
Yeah,
that'll say upcoming development or change of use. There's different ways they do it.
It's usually that you would see those sandwich boards, those sandwich signs. So the two-way it's usually those white ones, and then I'm talking about the city of Calgary. That's what you would see. They usually place in the property, and that's how usually the neighbors find out, right? They'll see that there is a sandwich board there, and then if they have any questions, they can contact, and there is methods to reach out. So the biggest part out of this, like I said, if you've been doing it right, from the beginning, you found the right lot, then you found the right architect, and that architect kind of voted on that lot, and kind of they said, yeah, this is good to go, and they know what they're doing. They got the experience. You've done through vetting them and all that stuff, and you hired that architect, the right team. No, they should be preparing the right set of drawings for you. And I don't have to spit out what those right drawings are. The architect would know.
Now that actually is tying into our second part of this question. That is, what do you need to apply for a city permit? So I know that we so far we've covered development permit,
right,
and we still haven't kind of went over the building permit steps as well. So there's two.
So development permit, like I said, it would has to do mostly the exterior of the building and meeting those bylaws. Okay, the setbacks from property lines, number of trees, the landscaping area, the windows, the doors, the building materials, like from what it looks like, what it is,
Yeah.
all that.
Also,
stuff.
the use of the building as well.
Right.
For this is more for residential. But for example, if it's commercial to industrial or industrial to residential, they're changing the use.
Yeah.
So that's a process as well.
Yeah. But since this is all residential, so it's DP and then in development permit, those are the things to look at. So basically, your development permit drawings are made off your site plan, which is the entire site and where the lot sits in the neighborhood, sort of in that, at least in that radius around the neighboring properties. And then the floor plan, and the most importantly, the elevation plans, right? What is the building facade? What does it look like? They need to know that. Where is the peak? Is it a flat roof? Is it a peak roof? Like all those things. So,
pretend you're looking at you're standing on the sidewalk looking at a house. That's what an elevation would look like.
Yeah. So elevation drawings are your vertical, like you see the building vertically, right?
The front, side, whatever, back.
Yeah.
Sides.
Right. So the front, the sides, each direction, it needs to be looked at by the city.
Yeah.
So those are your development permit drawings. And there's more stuff like some other related items in terms of they will have some information about, ceiling heights and, the interior ceiling heights and all that stuff. But this is not your building permit drawing, meaning you cannot take that piece of drawing and start building because it's only good for kind of visuals to look at where the house is going to be sitting, where is it exactly standing on the lot, what are the setbacks and things like that, but it doesn't talk about what material is being used. Doesn't talk about is it 2x4, 2x6, 2x10s, what kind of trusses, what kind of slopes on the trusses, is it floor joist? None of that. Those are discussed in your building permit drawings. So this is where the building permit plays in. So once you submit your development permit and it goes through all the city's department and it goes through the neighbors, and hopefully you have good neighbors and they don't have an issue. They actually appreciate your development on that old piece of property, and then you're taking and converting it to, hopefully they like that for their neighborhood. Then you have no issues. If you have no issues with them, then the next thing is basically moving forward with your BP, building permit drawings. But you want to make sure that these are submitted and they're in the process of being approved, at least approved. Once you kind of have that signal, then you can move towards getting the building permit drawings. So you can have your same architect. And like I said, if you have the right team, they'll let you know, hey, we think your development permit looks pretty good. We should start working on your building permit drawings. And then while you're waiting for a DP to come in, approved, you can already have some work done on your building permit drawings. So on building permit drawings, the question you asked, those are the construction materials, what you're using, how is it going to get built? And then it also should have all the electrical and mechanical information. So the lights, the switches, where is everything, the receptacles, where are things going to be? And then also your plumbing information and your water supply information, right? So those are needed. Between DP, I missed a step. Well, I did miss it. It's just between DP and BP, there is one thing that you need is called your DSSP plan, which is your development. And I'm using these terms directly related to the city of Calgary. Some other cities may have it named differently. They're all pretty much the same in North America, and they all pretty much need the same thing. Even United States, pretty much the same process. So your DSSP is it's your site development plan, okay? And it basically lays out where your services are and how they're going to get connected to your lot, to your house, and how you're going to have the water supply, and then how you will have the water drainage and all those things. So that's usually done in between the DP and BP. Once your DP is good and is approved, then you need your DSSP in there. And once you have the site servicing plan approved, then you can have your development permit released, and you could even get started on some parts of the construction, like digging and maybe working on the services. And then in that time, it should be good enough time for your building permit to come in, right? And then you start working on the building permit.
Yeah. So there it is, guys. We covered the steps to apply for a city permit and what do you need to apply for a city permit. For more reference on these topics, we've actually had many episodes on construction design, building permits, architecture, development permits. We've had actually multiple podcasts. I'm going to reference them in the podcast, so just keep an eye out for the links in the description for these old podcasts that you could listen to in reference. And just so you all know, we provide these services as well. So if you need help, you know where to reach us. And yeah, you can visit our website. But yeah, that's all we want to cover today. Was there anything else, Adeel, before we get going?
Yeah, like there is a lot, from application to application, from property to property. There's a lot but Duplex is a pretty straight, format, which I kind of laid out. But like I said, there is so much little details that I could discuss, and I don't think it's worth talking about it. But this is that I would ask that if anyone watching this have any questions, have any comments, do let us know. Do let us know what you think, and if there is some information that you would like. Our team can directly help you. We have experts within our company that do this stuff, and they can help you out. Or I can just, I can, give you some assistance with what you're looking for. But this is what you need. And again, it goes back to finding the right professional. If you have the right professional team, the architect, the designer working with you, the process should be pretty simple and easy. They should be able to tell you what it is and kind of walk you through the process and do it for you, right? So that's what I would say. But yeah, if you have anything, do let us know. If you have any questions, do let us know. And thanks for watching our video, and hit the like button and do subscribe. And we got 2 more episodes for this series, which is going to be, the next would be finding the right contractor. And then the last one is, I think, the funding aspect of it, which is actually...
That should be first, actually.
It should be the first, but I think people usually are excited about building it. Maybe they need to understand how actually it gets built and what is the process. Then the money can be figured out.
Yeah. Just know you need money throughout this whole thing.
Yeah, you're going to need money anyway.
Don't do it. Don't think you need money last. You'll need money first.
Exactly. Yeah.
Don't slip up on that.
100%.
All right, everyone. Thank you for tuning to episode 31 of the Adeel Pirzada podcast. We're live on Anchor, Spotify, and YouTube. Have a great day. Cheers. See you next time.
Thank you. Have a good one.